p.m. on July 9th, 2025. I will call the Town of Bourne Board of Health meeting to order. And we are also televising this on Zoom, and the Zoom chat will not be monitored. Participants who wish to speak must raise their hand icon until the chair asks them to unmute. Note this meeting is being televised and recorded by Bourne Community TV for replay. If anyone in the audience is also recording or videotaping, they need to acknowledge such at this time. All items within the meeting agenda are subject to deliberation and votes by the Board of Health. Is anybody recording or videotaping? Okay. If anyone from the public wishes to access the meeting remotely, they can do so by clicking the Zoom link or by calling the following conference line on their phone and using the Zoom meeting ID and password below. And the dial-in is 1-309-205-3325. Zoom meeting ID 848-0862-6866. Password is 897944. So first order of business is attendance. Dusty Meyer.
Here.
Margaret Reale.
Here.
Miguel Prieto.
Here.
Okay. Bob Collette here. And is Dawn on the Zoom? Mr. Ellis is absent. Okay, number 2 on the agenda, tobacco violation. It's a continuation of a hearing from April 23rd, 2025. Violation of 105 CMR 665.010A. Minimum standards for retail sale of tobacco and electronic nicotine delivery systems and Board of Health tobacco regulations. This was a sale of a tobacco product to a person of the minimum legal sales age at Cape Side Convenience, 105 Trowbridge Road, on March 31st, 2025, constituting a third offense. Anybody here to represent? Okay, please come to the podium and introduce yourself for the record.
Honorable Chair, members, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I failed in a compliance.
Sure, sir, excuse me, just would you share your name for the record, please?
My name is Rafiq Islam.
Okay, thank you.
I'm the owner of Cape Side Convenience.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Islam.
As the business owner in more than 2.5 decades of my retail life, I failed in a compliance last March. This is the first time. Though the location, it was the third failure. It was the first in my life. Well, if I may allow to tell the reason, the very first morning, the very day it happened, I received a call from my native land that my niece, who is a single mom, 34 years old banker, she was diagnosed with leukemia. And that very day was a very bad day. It could have happened 10 times with me. I had no help in the store. I was the only one. So I have received a communication. After that, I traveled to Bangladesh to attend her. She is still to undergo the operation. I'm leaving again on 23rd of this month. In between, we received a communication with the penalty of $5,000 and a month of suspension. My appeal to the board would be if the board is kind enough to reconsider anything. Failing, I might be in a very bad situation. That's all. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Any questions, comments from the board?
If I could, is it the same employee making this mistake, this offense?
Last 2 times the employees made it. This mistake, I made it personally. I realized later when I saw the video.
Okay. Anybody else? Miguel, Margaret?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What are you asking for? complete forgiveness or to reduce the,
I leave it to you all, please.
Okay.
I know I made a violation, I made a mistake. It is up to you, whichever you decide.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think in this situation, the law, state law and the local regulations don't allow for any variance to the enforcement. And, as much sympathy and empathy as I have for your personal situation, I don't think we don't have any wiggle room here for you to either reduce the penalty or to dismiss it. The fact is that it did occur, within the 3-year tolling period, and it's unfortunate. The one biggest concern that I have with this is this: your establishment is the closest one to our schools as well, and I know that a lot of the kids come in and frequent that. We have to assume it's reasonable to do so, that when we check everybody once a year, if a sale occurs on that day, then it's very likely that it could be happening on any other day or multiple times per day, for that matter, to underage people. And the state takes a very serious and hard position on tobacco sales to minors, and so does the town. And our hands are sort of tied as far as any variance to that penalty goes.
It's up to the honorable
Yeah.
board and the members.
Right. I know it's a heavy-handed penalty for a third offense, but the idea is that that these violations and the penalties associated with them would be something that retailers can learn from, hopefully. And in this case, I understand it's usually a mistake that somebody makes, but again, it's reasonable to assume that this is happening with some frequency. So, any other questions?
I could
comments?
propose
Yeah.
that you could pay in installments rather than in one payment. We could set up a payment schedule
Yes.
of paying like $1,000 a month for 5 months. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, the letter states that before the next renewal, I must clear the dues.
Yeah, a renewal wouldn't be granted unless,
Yes.
if you had an outstanding balance, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be within this year, get it paid off. And the minimum is 30 days. That's our, so we could, we're going to go with the minimum of revoking of the license to sell. So we could make it longer, but we'll keep it the minimum of 30.
Well, it's your decision. You have all the discretion to do.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we'll accept the motion.
I've got it written down if you want me to.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move that I move that Cape Side Convenience located at 105 Trowbridge Road for the third tobacco offense in 36 months, sale of a tobacco product to a person under the legal age occurring on March 31st, 2025, shall pay a $5,000 fine, and should I stipulate in monthly installments or beginning? Do we need a beginning date? Okay. I would suggest beginning this month. You will need to suspend the sale of all tobacco products for 30 consecutive business days, the dates to be determined. All tobacco products need to be removed from the store and secured in an alternate location. The business must provide access to the health agent or any member of the Board of Health to assess compliance.
May I request the board, honorable board, to reduce the date of 30 days?
30
If I am
days
30 days, possibly I'll have to.
Because this is the third offense,
Because
30 days is the least number of days that we can go according to state regulations. Right. I'm sorry.
Yes, Dr. Prieto?
Yeah, I just want to tell the gentleman, we don't make these regulations, we just need to go by them, and this is what the law says, we cannot change that. So you have to suspend the sales for 30 days. It is the law. We're not making that greater, we're keeping you at the least amount, but we cannot make it less than that. It's the same thing with the fine.
so
It's
can,
not personal, we're not overlooking your circumstances, but it is not within our power to change the law, we just have to enforce it.
so can the board defer this 30 days to the, close to the end of the year after the summer, at least?
We can discuss with you on time period for it, yes,
Okay,
in the office.
sure.
So I made the motion.
I second.
Miguel?
Yeah, I approve.
Okay, and I have to abstain. Okay, so,
Yes?
okay, so that's done, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, and sorry,
you.
we truly hope that this doesn't ever happen again. It doesn't please any of us to have you before us. in
I
this
don't feel
situation.
comfortable coming in front of the board.
No, I know, and, I understand how important it is for business people to, in town, to be able to maintain their business but with the privilege of holding a license to sell tobacco becomes a great responsibility, just as it does with alcohol and other age-related products.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Age-restricted Okay, thank you, sir.
You want to,
May I ask the chair of the board to mention what happens if there's another violation within a certain period of time,
Sure.
so he's aware?
Yeah, so that's a great point, Dr. Prieto. And so if there is another violation within the 3-year period, it's a permanent revocation of your
Yes,
tobacco permit,
yes,
okay?
yes.
So these do, they do expire as time goes on. Previous violations do expire, but if the fact that you sold in March, that triggers another check for you in the coming months too. So just so you're aware, you get put on the list
Sure.
to be rechecked, okay? So, it's not something that we're gonna wait another year to do. It could happen at any time, but, we just want you to be on alert for that, so, and hopefully we never have to have this situation and discussion again.
Hopefully it will not happen. I feel very uncomfortable and ashamed
Yeah,
to be here. This is the second time I came,
yeah.
I feel
No,
very,
know. And I know that you're a kind and respectable,
very embarrassed and
yeah,
very
okay?
embarrassed. I hope it will not happen. I try my best to be involved in the community in different
Right,
ways. It's a shame for me to come here with this kind of thing.
I understand.
Feel.
I'm sure it won't ever happen again.
Hopefully it will not happen.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
you want to
good
come
evening.
into the office either at the end of this week or next week to discuss with myself or Dion about the
Yes, early
suspension?
next week I'll come
Sounds great.
talk to you. Thank you. You have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the third item, 22 Spindrift Lane, Bracken Engineering on behalf of owner applicant, 22 Spindrift Lane, LCC, requesting relief from Bourne Board of Health Regulations 310 CMR 15.00 for a proposed septic upgrade. This includes several local variances and approval waivers. So, sir, if you would state your name for the record, and
My name is Robert DeWar here with Bracken Engineering on behalf of the owners of 22 Spindrift Lane, which is 22 Spindrift Lane LLC. We're here tonight to propose a raise and rebuild of the dwelling and a associated septic repair for this, or septic upgrade, I should say. We have an existing lot here in Spindrift Lane. This is just before the causeway out to Mashney Island. It's about a 15,000, a little over 15,000 square foot parcel to mean high water, which actually extends all the way down here. However, a good portion of this parcel is occupied by Coastal Bank, as shown here in the red or pink. And we also have a bordering vegetated wetland off to the west here that was delineated by ECR back in 2023. On top of it all, it does also fall within a flood zone. These resource areas have been confirmed by conservation, and there is an approved order of conditions for the project, which I'll get into a little bit more detail. But the existing house that is there now, it's an existing 3-bedroom house per a walkthrough that was done at the time of the perk test with the health department, and it does. It has an existing system that was put in around 1995, I believe. So the lot, I don't know if anybody got a chance to go out there, but it's kind of in a bit of disarray. We have a couple of dilapidated sheds in the back in the house, which has seen better days. The applicants are proposing to raise the existing house and the sheds and construct a new 2-bedroom primary house with a garage and a 1-bedroom ADU above that. With that, we would be upgrading the septic to include a new microfast denitrifying septic tank and a Presby enviroseptic leaching field because we are within 150 feet to all the resource areas. But regardless, we still find ourselves having to request a litany of variances and local upgrade approvals for this, and I'm just going to run down the list for them because there's a bunch. So we have a 4-foot request for reduction for a 6-foot setback to the property line here to 18 Spindrift Lane. We have a 3-foot local upgrade approval request for a 7-foot setback or to the garage. A 47-foot request for a 3-foot setback to a coastal bank, which this coastal bank kind of runs right in here. A 22-foot local upgrade approval for a 28-foot setback from the bordering vegetated wetland, which is up here. A 50-foot local upgrade approval waiver is requested for a 0-foot setback from the coastal bank to the septic tank. Unfortunately, just the tank has to sit right there at the top of the coastal bank. And then in terms of local variances, we are requesting a 147-foot reduction for a 3-foot setback again to this coastal bank, and a 122-foot local variance for a 28-foot setback again to the bordering vegetated wetland. And then finally, we have a 46-foot local variance requested for a 104-foot setback from the system to mean high water. And now that maintains the same 104-foot setback from the existing field to mean high water. We were able to keep that the same. The proposed system is positioned where it is, basically just it's the highest area of the lot, it gains us maximum separation to groundwater, while also, also our maximum separation distance from like the BVW and Buzzards Bay down below us. Again, our denitrifying septic tank has a drastic reduction in nitrogen loading for the lot. I believe it's like 36%. Just look up the number real quick.
6.5?
Yeah, we go from 10.03 parts per million to 6.37 parts per million. So it's quite a bit of a reduction. And I think overall there's a vast improvement to the lot compared to what's there now. And with that, we'll open it up to any questions from the board.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, was this given variance before when the other system, way back 95, probably 1995, was put in?
I believe that there was a variance put in, yeah.
So it didn't look like it went before the Board of Health. It looked like it was approved administratively.
Yeah.
And essentially red stamped, meaning it was a repair to the existing cesspool, to do a tank and a leach pit. And it was well within the buffer zone that was, that the board had already in effect. So it was granted administratively versus the board.
The other thing, have you considered a tight tank for this site?
A tight tank, I believe, was considered, but under the constraints of the lot, we are able to provide good treatment for the effluent and dispersal. I mean, the enviroseptics work very well, and the microfast, combined with that also works very well. And where we are with Buzzards Bay, this is an area that gets flushed quite a bit more than some of the other more impounded bays in the area.
Did you say it's past conservation? I didn't.
It has passed conservation, yep.
Let's see. We have a regulation that says that a hydrological study needs to be done for all leaching facilities within 100 feet of a wetland or watercourse. It says here a 28-foot setback from a proposed soil absorption system to a bordering vegetative wetland.
So typically, the other option from the hydrogeologic study is to provide either pressure distribution or an equivalent, which is what the enviroseptic provides. Under their state approval, they have equivalency for a pressure distribution system.
So do we have that in our regulations? That we
Well,
approve
those
that?
systems weren't necessarily there when that regulation was made. But to explain what a pressure distribution is versus the, like a standard leaching chamber, it all just dispersing there.
I have a
Yeah.
big idea
So
of
it's,
how.
it's distributing it slowly across each leach pipe versus, and so it's just distributing it evenly, so it's not pooling in that area.
So should we should probably update our regulations.
We could definitely upgrade the regulation to include
because
that, yeah.
it's not, it's violating our regulations
It is, yeah.
to do this. Even if there is a new technology, then we should
Include such a
change-
thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
we should change it.
Mhm.
There's, I'll try to go through these quick. I have some other questions too. Okay, let's see. There's, in the plans here, they have these, two porches, and it says, Zach to locate where they are, and then over here it says, a rounded or rectangular covered porch, Zach to locate possibility.
These floor plans for the porches, I think these were initially, I'll point that out. The architect for this will often draw, she gets the main house, the main layout of the house. The porches, I think at the time of her plans here, they were still hatching out exactly what the layout was. So
Oh, yeah, right.
so the porch there where it says Zach to locate possibly, I mean, that turned in, we had isolated that down to like a square, steps that came down to the landing
Is
rather
it,
than
so is
that.
it gonna be an open air porch?
Yes, yep. That one is open air, and then the other one I think they were talking about is that actually it's kind of a second floor. Well, it's going to be elevated,
Like a
but
balcony.
porches that connects the ADU and the main house. There's a kind of a deck in between them.
A deck.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And also, I'm going to ask you to write in on the plans where, let's see, we've got a couple of big areas that could actually be bedrooms, it could be bedrooms. The openings are there. Let's see, for example, these aren't measured. I mean, they're not measured, they're not numbered. The first floor plan on the mudroom. It looks like a big opening, but could you write in 6 foot, please, on that, so that,
So if I may just, I'm not sure if that's 6 feet, it might be less than 6 feet, but that would be their entrance from their driveway. So this would be a walk-through room to the living space. It wouldn't be considered a bedroom per your definition. So the mudroom is their entrance to the home off the driveway.
Right, but,
And there's an entrance to another bedroom from
From
that room as well.
So it's
Right.
it's a walk-through
Yep.
room to get to separate rooms.
yeah, I understand, it's just, it's large, and I just wanted to make sure that I understand what you're saying, you're coming in from the outside, going through the mudroom, but it's just it's a large area, and I just wanted to make sure that even though I see the bedroom door there, but that it's 6 feet is written right on there so that it couldn't be changed later.
It meets the 70 square foot requirement for the bedroom definition, but I don't believe that it meets the minimum expectation of privacy.
Yeah,
Per
as long
the
as that-
definition.
I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying.
I'm not
just
sure that
saying,
that
right,
hallway
you know,
is 6
just-
feet
Just to
wide.
write the 6 foot right in there,
I don't believe it is 6 feet.
Yeah,
it's more narrow. Okay.
Correct, yes. I would say it's probably closer to 5 or 4, 5.5, 4.5.
yeah, I would think I don't have a scale with me, but I would think it's a more typical hallway width.
And I was just going to say that, so you don't need to write, to put the dimensions there then?
For a
It's not
hallway, not necessarily, no.
So this is considered a hallway then?
The mudroom would be considered a walk-through room.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So how about I was going to ask the same thing about the upstairs, the TV room. Could we just write I see 6 feet written on the other side, but just to have it right, written in right there at the opening to the TV room, just write it in.
Isn't that designated here?
Oh, just to make sure that it's right on the plans.
I do see 6 feet for kind of
On the
hallway.
left side, but the opening into the TV room,
So that would all be the same space.
Yeah, I think that's the same width across.
it's, but just to have it right there, written on the other side.
Yeah, I'm sure we can move that.
I haven't
6 foot
reviewed the building permit, so that can
measurement.
be uploaded to the building permit.
Yeah, and these, typically, once all the permitting has gone through, Cheryl, the architect, provides final, construction drawings once all the.
I'm just saying that because we're approving them.
Yep.
We're approving these tonight, and so we just want to make sure that the rooms are not
Sure, and-
potential.
I mean, in that TV room, again, it doesn't meet meets the 70 square feet, but it doesn't meet the expectation for privacy, as the,
Yeah, as long as the
Yeah.
opening is wide enough.
And if I may just, in general, yes, the board is responsible for making sure that the septic system is adequately servicing the correct amount of bedrooms in the house. But I want to make sure you guys the Board of Health doesn't approve the architectural plans. The Board of Health approves the septic plan based off of what
Right,
they're looking at.
right.
So I just want to make sure that that's very clear in our discussion, that the
Yeah.
Board of Health isn't discussing building permits or architecturals. We're just looking at what is there and approving the septic design before us tonight.
I get it, I get
Yeah.
what you're saying. I just, again, just wanting to be sure that, we're saying, oh, yes, this is a 3
Bedroom
bedroom
home,
place. So these large areas that could possibly come into be used at some point, that it's very clear that they have openings that, that are within the, that is right. And I'm not saying I know anything about being an architect or how to draw plans or anything like that, but just that there's a lot of potential, when these aren't really, if it's not super clear, then you could take them and use them to create bedrooms.
in that case of that TV room, we can show on the construction drawings that
Yep.
Cheryl submits for the building permit, that 6 feet is clearly, it'll demonstrate that whole hallway there is 6 feet
Yeah,
wide.
'cause it's
And,
continuous right in.
Yeah, it goes right in, so,
Yeah, it's,
and the stairs that are right there as well, so. And I believe that there actually aren't really walls there, it's like an open rail as you go
Correct.
Oh,
up
okay,
the-
well,
up the
that
stairs.
makes a difference.
So,
You're having part of an open area then. Okay, one other thing is, could you put in that the alarm would be visible from the street?
yeah, Yeah.
I didn't, it might be there, but I didn't see
There's
it.
really no, there's a control panel for the microfast, but there isn't really an alarm,
Oh,
as
well,
as there would be for
Something
like a
that's
pump
visible,
chamber.
something, I don't know if it's whatever, if it's not an alarm, it does a light? Is there a light?
No, there's no alarm light or anything. There's a control panel for the blower and stuff for the microfast unit, but there's no alarm like a pump chamber for like a high-level alarm or anything. It all flows gravity, so even if the power goes out, worst-case scenario is the microfast tank still acts like a regular septic tank. It will still flow through gravity. You just don't get the additional treatment during however long the power is
So
out.
if something, but there is an alarm, with the system.
Mm-hmm.
So if something goes wrong, how do you know? Do you
Well,
have to
there's
wait to
regular
have it
maintenance
tested?
on it, but there's a required maintenance contract to be submitted during the actual application for the disposal works permit. So there is a contracted third party that does come and maintain it. And then the rest of it, with any of these denitrifying systems, we're relying on the owners to be responsible and leave it on. I mean, many of them have pumps or fans that the owner at their own discretion could decide
Them down.
they want to turn them off, But as soon as the company comes to test it and they have to report their testing results, at least for the first couple of years, it becomes clear that the system's not functioning, and it's usually pretty easy to tell. And
The
at which
reason I'm
point, you
asking all
guys
this,
can.
there are a lot of questions about this, is these are a heck of a lot of variances.
They
And-
are.
And the very, very small area, to wetlands and to coastal banks and to the water. It's not, and huge variances, so,
The biggest ones, I think, is to the coastal bank, and once we're up here, that's where we're very close, we're at 3 feet here. But it's a coastal bank in terms of slope because we are in the floodplain, so the road kind of comes in here, and then there's actually sort of like almost a little mound, and in some cases, a bit of a stone wall that actually ramps up that whenever they originally built this house to build that up. But with the change in regulations in terms of FEMA now, and DEP with how they classify a coastal bank, because it's greater than a 10-to-1 slope, now it gets classified as a coastal bank, where the water-dependent coastal bank and the actual water down here is much further away. In the 28 feet to the wetland, unfortunately, we are bound by the large wetland system that backs up behind that area.
anyway, so that's why I'm saying that. So if something if it's not operating
Mm-hmm.
properly, how long is going to go on until, it's going to be a while?
Yeah.
Then it gets detected.
It gets
I know
picked
the
up pretty
first-
quickly on the monitoring
Yeah.
for it, yeah. And there's no.
First year, it's like, what, 4 times a year?
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's no real-time capability of monitoring the performance of it. It literally requires sampling and sending to a lab for analysis, so.
Yeah, with any of those systems that have alarm panels that have an actual alarm, the alarm doesn't trigger that the system's not working, it triggers that the pump's not working or something like that, which it could be.
So it's not
It's-
working effectively, right? Something's broken.
It could be that it just got overflowed, it could be that the power went out, anything like that. So the alarm systems, even for the ones that do have an alarm, aren't telling you that the testing's wrong. That's only seen from the sampling that we do on
Yeah.
a regular basis.
Is
Yeah.
this gonna be a year-round house or a summer home?
Year-round, which will actually benefit the microfast system
Yeah,
more
they-
than.
Yeah.
They
than the
won't tend to
seasonal.
shut that
Yeah.
down because.
Exactly. Yep.
Up.
Yeah, the house has been in the ownership consistently,
has a
but
question.
it's been rented, and the owner is basically looking to retire and essentially move back in full-time, so.
It's got everything against it. Because in the bay right there, if you're here, say April or May, there's about 1,000 ducks out there, and it's
There are.
shooting season out there. And between the nitrogen from them and this, any reduction is a help in that area, because that's one of the first places, I imagine, if they ever went to town sewer, one of the places that would get done quickly.
One thing going for it is it's on the, I guess, northern side of the Mashpee Spit, so you're getting the full flow of the canal that's pushing water out of there
Right.
rather than
Right,
being on
but
the
from the
inside.
pilings in to the roadway out to the Mashpee there, that's stagnant water.
Yeah, you
pretty
get a
much
bit of an eddy
stagnant.
formation there, yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's a tight lot, you know, we hate to propose tight tanks unless, you know, critically necessary.
And we wouldn't necessarily approve it for new construction tonight, would we, guys?
No.
X.
Miguel has a question? Yes.
So I have a comment and a question. Comment to Mr. Basinski, thank you for the sign of the system. It's certainly better than what's in the ground right now, based on what you're proposing. But my question basically to my fellow board members is that there is a 50% increase in the flow in the new system. And based on what I saw, it does not really meet the groundwater quality assessment. Did I get that correctly? Or no? It just says in the paper they submitted, says that if yes, and they check yes,
Oh, gotcha,
the
okay.
project will need to provide an alternative strategy to meeting this threshold by using another worksheet, which I do not find. And then, do we have a hydrologic study?
So, yeah, we don't have the hydro study, but they are proposing pressure distribution in the field, which has been proven to help in that aspect.
And realistically, in this scenario, the hydrologic study is going to tell you that the groundwater flows
That way.
this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the potential, maybe this side of the lot flows towards the BVW, but
I mean,
but only the
area
upper corner.
is not just the geese that are there or the boats, but they are like sheltered farm, oyster farms, to be more specific, in that area close to, and then, you know, if they get salt and the public eats them and they're contaminated, that could be an issue. I just want to make sure that we're doing this correctly and we're not, jumping over any of the regulations, because according to this, this doesn't quite meet the Title V requirements. Is that correct? Not just the towns, but the Title V.
Correct.
So I was looking into that last night. Is that correct?
Yes, they're asking for variances from both the town regulations and Title V.
Okay, and don't we need to have then the study say, and were they approved, disapproved by the committee saying that it's okay?
A study from whom?
I think he's talking about geologic.
From the
Hydrologic.
state?
So a hydrogeo study would be something that they would produce themselves. The regulation, yeah,
Right. But then it gets submitted to.
to the Board of Health.
state level.
It would just be
Oh.
submitted to you guys, yeah, per your regulation.
Okay, then
Yeah.
I'll defer to Mr. Kolak and Mr.
Mhm.
Dwyer, that they have more experience on what they think here, but, you know, it's just not meeting the Title V. And it could be met if the flow was not increased 50%, is that correct?
There is no increase in flow proposed. We have a three-bedroom existing house and a three-bedroom, well, 3 bedrooms total site flow as proposed as well.
Okay.
50% increase in space.
But does the monitoring and testing, do those results get reported to the board, Caitlin?
They do.
Yeah. Okay. It's not so we keep a record of that. And would this warrant a possible deed restriction? Caitlin?
There would be,
Yeah.
yep.
All right, so that's part of the proposal?
Yep. As
Yeah.
part of the state approval for the microfast system
Right,
itself,
Okay.
they require a deed restriction to be placed on the lot.
okay.
So
Oh.
they require a deed disclosure. If you guys were looking for a bedroom count deed restriction, that would be something you would have to add as well.
Oh, okay.
That would, I think that might alleviate some of the
Yeah,
questions. that you-
we'd be certainly willing to do that.
Okay, I think that should be added too,
Yeah.
if we're going to
Yep.
vote to approve it. All right, any further questions from the board? Caitlin, this is the best possible option we have at this point in time?
Any septic upgrade on this lot is gonna be constrained. They're increasing some of this full habitable space, but they're not increasing bedroom flow. So there's not much you could do better for that.
Even if this was a purely septic repair for
Yeah.
a failed system at the existing house, I would be asking for
For-
the same variances with
Yeah.
the system in the same location.
Does this lie within the zones that are,
They are not in one of the impaired watersheds, no.
no? Okay. All right. No further questions, I'll entertain a motion, one way or another.
I voted out, so I'll do it if you want me to. All right, in the event
Sure.
that we decided to go ahead with it. Okay. So I have to read everyone, right? I've got it written out.
You could say as proposed this evening, if that was easier, because it is written out in the agenda.
Okay, all right.
And then you would just add in any of the conditions that you guys discussed as
Okay.
well.
So I move to approve the variances requested for 22 Spindrift Lane as outlined in our agenda, with also a deed restriction added on, and I think that was the only restriction that we,
Just to confirm, you want a 3-bedroom deed restriction?
a 3-bedroom, yes, a 3-bedroom deed restriction.
Do I hear a second? Anybody?
To do
This is Don Ellis.
Oh, hi, Dawn, I didn't know you were on, okay. You have any questions?
Yeah, I had a conflict with, me to get someone to the airport tonight, but I think the point of the matter is I just wanna let everybody know that I have that listening. And I did wanna stipulate with the condition that, I do second it, but making sure that the, results, for any testing, and analytical testing, be submitted to the board, and that they are, being evaluated in accordance with that deed restriction. And I think that's what you were talking about earlier, in the concerns that came up, that if there are increases in, loading, that they are evaluated by the owner. I think that's the point of that, discussion of earlier, is that correct?
Yes. So is that an amendment to the motion?
Yes, so then we need a second to the amendment.
And I'll make one more amendment to my own motion. Can I do that?
Yeah,
Allowed?
sure.
Go ahead.
I want to add in also that you would write in 6 feet right on the plans. If that, is that?
Submitted to the building permit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the the TV room.
Sure.
You talked me out of the mudroom, but.
Yeah, the TV room, again, I think if that, I believe that's an open banister style railing.
Oh, that's right, I forgot,
But
okay.
if they
Take it
change
back.
that, if for whatever reason that becomes a wall or something, we'll make sure that it's noted that it's a 6-foot opening.
We'll address that as well.
It does, okay, all right. That's it, no more.
All right, so we'll need
So
a,
we need a second on the amendments.
All right, I second that.
Okay, both amendments. Okay.
and then you'll need to do a roll call vote now.
Right. All right, so, right. So relative to the amendments,
Yes.
Dusty, yes, Bob, yes, and Miguel?
Yes.
Okay. And Dawn? Yes,
Don Ellis, yeah.
okay. All right. So, and now we have a motion on the table that's been amended twice,
Yep.
so we have to vote on the overall motion. Well, Margaret's first.
Nope, it would you just would do the roll call vote on the full amendment.
On the full
Yeah, good to go.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
They never get easier, you know?
No, and it's gonna get tighter and tighter as land gets more valuable, and
Oh, my goodness, yeah. All right,
Thank you, Rob.
hold on first.
I lost my,
I don't know.
oh, here we go.
All right. All right, next agenda item is public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone from the public on Zoom?
We do not.
Okay. So we'll move right to number 5, the Health Director's Report. Do you have anything to share with us? Katie?
Actually, we don't have anything from me on there. The number 5 is actually comments from the board regarding future agenda items.
Oh.
That's number 6.
Oh.
Is it? Where's the other?
Oh, I must have copied from a different one for my notes.
Okay.
I have any updates? I do not have any updates for you guys right now.
Okay. All right.
No.
So number 6, comments from the board regarding future agenda items. Does anybody have anything this time?
Not I.
I did add in that Margaret would want to discuss the hydrogeological study recommendation.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Okay, thank you, Don.
As we are talking about regulation updates, we're going to be, would that be not on the same subject? Because next time it's going to be specific to the IA regulations, adding, or could we throw that in
We could do
too?
both, yep. We could advertise a public hearing for multiple different regulations to be heard that night, yes.
Maybe we could brainstorm, and think of any other regulations that need to be updated.
Well, it's good timing because we've been,
Yeah,
updating them anyway.
absolutely, yep. So if that could be done at the same time, that'd be
Yeah.
Yeah.
very good.
Speaking of that, if anyone does have comment or feedback from the email I sent you following the last meeting about it,
yeah,
to let
I
me
will.
know, so I kind of know which direction you want us to go
Yeah.
in for the next time we discuss it, so.
I apologize, I haven't gotten back to
No,
you.
absolutely, yeah.
But at least we got another couple weeks.
Because we do have to advertise a public hearing in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks. So we kind of have to have an idea of when we want to do it, so we can get it out there.
So, excuse me, it's going to be at our next meeting? Is that
It
what
would
you're-
not be at our next meeting, no, because we'd have to advertise in the newspaper for 2 weeks prior to the meeting.
Don't we have 2 weeks?
Not for when they run the
Not
ads.
for when they run the newspaper or the ads, yeah.
I got it.
Katie, this was very helpful. Very. I like that. Well, it isn't that, but when you're researching and you're finding this variance,
Yeah.
you lose count along
Yeah.
where you were.
Yeah.
And,
I try to, if I can review all of them and get my comments down before the day of the meeting, I will always send them to you guys, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You get to do it.
make a motion to adjourn?
Okay.
I second it.
Margaret? Miguel?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Mike? Bob? Aye.
In favor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very helpful this